different?
So, number one, it's not right to say that the private sector has not been investing. The private sector has started investing. The government did the heavy lifting after COVID, a huge amount of that. Private sector, today we see certain sectors where there is growth in terms of expansion of investment. Second, what we were seeing is the consumption demand, the muted consumption demand. And now with that getting to answer your specific question, with that getting sort of so much well addressed, obviously the investment demand in the private sector would go up. Thirdly, if you really look at the capex and the quality of capex that the government is talking about spending, would definitely also crowd in the private investment demand.
Let's get a word in from Vijay Kedia, leading market expert at Kedia Securities. Mr. Kedia, you were singing a song for the finance minister about taxation not being touched. At the end of it, she doesn't seem to have tinkered much with taxation. So what ditty are you singing for her now?
Nothing. Dil ke arma aansuon mein beh gaye, hum wafa karke bhi tanha reh gaye.
Kyun tanha kyun reh gaye aap?
Because there is nothing for a stock market. You know, the best thing for a stock market is that capital gain tax has not been raised. So, so that is the best thing. But nothing about the stock market.
But you should be happy then. Why are the markets sad? Sensex down 210 points, Nifty down 59. It's the consumer-facing stocks index which is doing well. But why are the markets seeming slightly desolate?
No, because I think one should not read about all these consumer stocks rising today 4-5%. They're already 10, and they have not participated in this bull market in the last 2-3 years. So I don't think that one should read anything into that. And whatever they are talking about, 1 lakh crore of whatever sacrifice they have done, I think this is very, very small amount to stimulate $4 trillion economy or $3.5 and $4 trillion of stock market. And also, I think they have to do more. That animal spirit is still not there. I think unless we touch the subject of unemployment, I think this market, as I said in my earlier interview, it's very difficult for this market to bring that momentum back, which we had seen in last few months or last few years.
We leave it there, Mr. Kedia. Thank you for joining us. Let me put that question to Rajiv Memani on the quantum of the money that's been infused as a result of the reduction in taxes. Because it's 1 lakh crores, the likes of Vijay Kedia argue that that isn't enough. But before that, let me get a word in from Sandeep Chofla. He's a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers PwC and heads the Direct Tax Council of ASSOCHAM. So now explain that, Mr. Chofla, in terms of the impact that you think it will have. The likes of, Mr. Kedia was a markets expert saying it's too small to actually stimulate a $4 trillion economy.
I think, Rahul, one of the asks of middle class was that given the fact that inflation has been rising, given the fact that the consumption had been going down, and the middle class really was asking for respite in terms of moderation of the slab rates and reduction of the tax rates. So that has been done. And therefore, as the Honorable Finance Minister announced, that up to income levels till about 12 lakhs, there will not be any tax, of course. That needs to be understood and analyzed. So basic thing is that whatever was the tax outgo for the last year, compared to that, what she's proposed, there is a significant relief. And in addition, there are other reliefs also for the individual taxpayers in terms of, if you have up to 2 self-occupied house properties, then the annual value will be nil. Now, whether it will have an impact on the economy, to my mind, putting more money into the pocket of the middle class does result in some way, may not be entirely, but in some way or fashion, it does result into spending. And that would have naturally have a positive impact on the demand side, and therefore the consumption will rise. Now, whether it will have an impact on the stock market at this point in time doesn't seem so.
The finance minister spoke of reducing cesses and surcharges to 1 does that apply also to direct income tax? Have you been going through the fine print? What have you picked up through the fine print of the finance bill over and beyond what we heard in the finance speech, in the finance minister's budget?
So the cesses, Rahul, though it's in the fine print, I've not gone through that yet. But my sense, hearing the Honorable Finance Minister, the cess reduction, etc., was more in the context of some custom rates. And for the income tax, wherever the surcharge is applicable, it will. I didn't hear anything on any surcharge or cess rationalization or moderation so far as the individual tax rate is concerned. But of course, one needs to go through the fine print to see that what the impact is.
So a very simple question. I'm earning 1 lakh a month. 12 lakhs a month is my salary. 12 lakhs a year is my salary. How much tax do I have to pay? None at all?
Well, there would be some tax because there are slab rates which have been announced, but compared to the last year,
so 10%.
Your tax outgo would be less by 80,000 rupees. That's what the broad calculation is. What
So the broad calculation is at 12 lakhs?
Salary, what you would have paid.
In the new regime, there will be no tax, so I pay 10%.
No, you will
there
pay
be no
tax. You will pay tax. What she basically meant was that compared to last year, to 4 lakhs, no tax, and 4 to 8 lakhs, there is 5%, etc. Now, if you are earning 12 lakh rupees, then compared to the last year, where you would have paid taxes, your tax outgo would be less by 80,000 rupees.
Okay. So R. Mukundan of Tata Chemicals now joins us, Managing Director and Chief Executive. Thank you very much, Mr. Jafla, for joining us. Mr. Mukundan, the Finance Minister spoke a lot about deregulation, reducing compliance burden, trust. Do you see that as being just political talk, or do you see also a will to actually translate that talk into action?
See, I think when you step back and see what this budget has done, budget has addressed the key issue we were highlighting in terms of consumption by putting money in the hands of the people through tax slab, which we are just now speaking about. The second thing, it has also addressed the sectors which are creating a lot of jobs. Even today, 40% of India's employment is in agriculture. It addressed it started with agriculture, then went on to MSME, focused on exports. So this is a budget which has actually focused on two key issues which the government needed to address. At the same time, there's a flight path to fiscal consolidation. While doing that, they've also addressed the gap in infrastructure funding through private-public partnership. And that's where the trust comes in. You know, when you say that, listen, I think let there be a private-public partnership, you can't build that without trust. I think the trust word is going to address some of the issues we need to do when we want to build infrastructure of the scale we need in India. Coming to your specific issue, I think the government has done a lot in terms of decriminalization of the laws, ease of doing business, but they're now taking up next 100 laws, which is what she mentioned. I think there's this work to be done in partnership, in collaboration with government. So we'll work with them. And also in terms of ease of doing business, several of the moves which now need to be made have to be done in terms of working with states, working with the urban bodies where these industries are located. So there's also not just a focus on rural economy, but there's also for the first time focus on what I call as the urban economy, where 1.5 lakh crore has been earmarked for the same. So really a budget which says that we want to unleash the power of India, power of entrepreneurs in India. So there's a focus on entrepreneurship. There's a focus on startup, whole 10,000 crore for the funding the whole startup fund for fund of funds. Again, it's a great move because the first one was a great success. The second one is going to spur the momentum forward. And the MSME definition, for example, 2 to 2.5 times, again is a big shift because up to 500 crores, you're still in that same bracket. So Indian MSME need not be small. Indian MSMEs can actually dream big. They can compete in the international markets and create jobs and take Indian products, not just in India, internationally. So I think on top of that, I also want to add a point that this budget did focus on the new areas like nuclear energy. I think this is something we've been highlighting for base load as we move away from coal to nuclear. We need to sort of create the base load in nuclear, addressing the civil liability issue, putting out a huge commanding number of 100 gigawatt for nuclear, very big positive. So I think all in all, I would say it is not just the issue which you said in terms of reform. It is reform, fiscal consolidation, focus on jobs and focus on consumption.
Explain why the changes in the nuclear power plants is important with an eye on Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States this month?
So if you remember a few weeks back, maybe a couple of weeks back, the US government sort of lifted certain restrictions on Indian private and other corporations, public corporations on supply of nuclear fuel. That opened the pathway for the entry of private sector into nuclear energy into India. One of the theme songs for working with the US has been, all said and done, India got a spectacular deal in the nuclear deal in 2005. But we've not been able to process any new plants, any new facilities. Now that we have reached a stage where we require to bring down our import dependence on energy, we sort of work with nuclear. I think it also is an ask for all these data centers and global capacity centers to get renewable energy. So there is a push to present this opportunity. Again, it's crisis-driven in a sense, because President Trump is sort of creating the disruption. So present this as an opportunity for US, like a deal. This is what it is. What did we do in 1991? We presented a 1990 report of Rakesh Mohan and Amarnath Verma on delicensing industry. Now what we are doing is something that has been pending for over 12 years. We have brought it to the fore as a negotiating tactic.
Okay, Shobna Kamineni joins us, Executive Vice Chairperson at Apollo Hospitals. Shobna, welcome. Take our viewers through the impact of the changes that were made and the potential consequence of Donald Trump's, he's spoken of imposing new tariffs on Indian pharma companies. How is that likely to impact India's pharma sector in your view? Please come in.
Okay, so the headlines, especially all of you, have just been talking about the elections for the last couple of weeks. And I think the finance minister, without even trying much, has now grabbed everybody's attention with what she's given to the middle class. So I want to really applaud the fact that there are going to be a lot of people who have income tax relief. Coming to your specific question about the pharma relief, so 20% of the world's medicine is made from India. And a lot of the companies actually, I was there, Rahul, along with you in Davos when President Trump said, if you make in the US, your tariffs will be 15%. So I think a lot of Indian drug companies finish their goods there. So I think there's an opportunity to take advantage of that and probably grow the market. But definitely tariffs are going to be an area